Good afternoon. Welcome to the 9th annual Doing the Most Good banquet for the Salvation Army here in Bryan College Station and throughout the Brazos Valley. 9th, but kind of the first of its kind. We've never done anything like this. We are excited about it, but most importantly, we're glad that you are here because we want to tell you a little bit about what we've done here in the last year. Been pretty good times for us here for the Salvation Army, and we know that there are difficult times that are ahead of us right now, and we need your help, because this banquet is responsible for 1/5 of the total budget for the Salvation Army. So we're going to explain to you the new ways that you can be a part of it and the economic struggles that the people of the Brazos Valley have looked to the Salvation Army to be able to help them with. And again, as they always have, the Salvation Army has proved to be a beacon in these tough times. You remember that there was a Spanish flu epidemic back right before 1920. Well, you know what? The Salvation Army saw us through that as well. So yes, it's a different pandemic than we had before, but one of the constants is that the Salvation Army is here to help. So thank you for being with us. Kind of on a lighter note, we're happy that you're being able to eat the food that you want to eat and you're dressed the way that you want to be dressed, and you can bet that there are folks all over the Brazos Valley who are doing just the same thing. We think we have a really good program for you today. Among the things we have that's different is the online auction. You'll see here at the bottom of the screen that we have these items. There'll be 25 items for auction, and we're in the 4th day of the auction, so we invite you to take advantage of that, and then you'll see that there are different ways that you can give to. So be sure and look at the bottom of the screen. You can click on those things if you want, but of course, our celebration, our banquet will continue. So coming up this afternoon, we'll be able to hear about what has happened with Texas A&M and the Angels Tree, which is an exciting campaign that both A&M and the Salvation Army are very pleased with. We will get an update on the COVID situation and also Captain Ryerson. And just kind of an aside so that you'll know, Captain Ryerson and his family were coming back from a family time together literally the day before things changed here in Bryan College Station. Here's one thing that you've got going for you, is you have an organization, the Salvation Army. Even while the captains were not here, they were able to get things set up, a platform ready to go, so that when they did get back, the Ryersons were able to hit the ground running to give you the things that you would expect the Salvation Army to do. So understand you've got a great staff here as well. In addition, of course, General Joe Ramirez will also bring us his message, and we'll look forward to all that. So right now, we'd like to start the program. That would be with our Pledge of Allegiance and invocation, and that'll be from Eagle Scout Dylan Benson.
Hello, I'm Eagle Scout Dylan Benson with Troop 159. Recently, I was privileged to work with the Salvation Army to install a wheelchair ramp and hand railings to the main office building. Working with the Salvation Army really gave me an insight to their morals, and so I'm so honored to be here today to recite the pledge and lead in prayer. Now please join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join with me in prayer. Dear Lord, I'd like to ask for your strength in this time of need, a struggle in which we can only persist with your care and love. In times like these, it's easy to despair, but aided by your voice, we will not only find the strength to carry on, but the blessings you are able to give to us in the presence. Finding your glory in even the darkest days can prove challenging, but again, I ask for your guidance, leading us to your lessons you wish to teach. We ask for you to lend strength to those that are ill, giving them a path to recovery and well-being. We ask for continued grace to those who are out of work, allowing for them to provide for their families. We thank you for the blessings of medical personnel and first responders within our lives, for all they do to help others. We thank you for the organizations like the Salvation Army, who are not only able to help others in times of need, but give grace to you. In a time which such strength is needed, we also ask for your wisdom. Wisdom allowing for us to see into your plan for all of us, letting this time be an awakening and clear moment for our relationship with you. The time we have, use to slow down and connect with you, whereas otherwise we may have strayed off. We ask that in these times of need, the Salvation Army, medical personnel, and other relief groups are safely guarded under your watchful eye, keeping everyone safe and healthy while administering to those in need. We ask for your blessings over this food and the people around the world to turn to you, but let us remember to turn to you not only in our dark hours, but at our best moments. In the Lord's name, amen.
I know right now we're focused on the pandemic that is gripping the country, but there are a lot of good things that happened last year for the Salvation Army. I want to give you a quick background on the Angel Tree program of the Salvation Army. It started in the early 70s, and we know that many of us have great Christmases, but we know that there are a lot of children out there who don't. And being able to reach out and finding a child to be able to give a gift to is really important. And this is the whole idea, starting with the traditional Hallmark card you've seen that's shaped like a Christmas tree. So what happened was the captain wrote a child's name on it and then hung it in a tree at the Salvation Army headquarters. Well, you know, it ended up working pretty well, and the next year they put it in a mall right there in Nashville, and now hundreds of thousands of children all over America receive Christmas gifts because of the Angel Tree program. Right here in Bryan College Station, more than 2,200 of those kids were able to get gifts from the Salvation Army. And about half of them came because of a group of students at Texas A&M who decided that they wanted to be a part of that. We know about the Aggie Spirit and the Aggie Network and how they love to give. And to take two great traditional organizations like Texas A&M and the Salvation Army and bring them together obviously was lightning in a bottle. It was so successful, in fact, that the territory headquarters in Atlanta asked Captain Ryerson to tell the story. How in the world were you able to connect with these students? Because that could be something that could be replicated in college towns all over America. This is what was produced. This is a story of how Texas A&M students in the Salvation Army came together to make the Angel Tree program a tremendous success last year.
Here in Bryan College Station, Texas, we have a rather large university called Texas A&M. And we have seen a really unique opportunity arise and develop. We have a student body who is eager and really wanting to be involved in the work of the Salvation Army. And they were very interested in knowing on how and what could they do to serve the local community. And one of the ideas that they brought to the table was the Angel Tree program. You know, they came and said, you know, let's start with 25, 50 angels and let's see what happens. And absolutely. So they take those, and not even a day later they called and said, can we get 25 more? A day later, can we get 25 more? And I was getting to the point, well, what's going on over there? So I went on campus and just saw students lining up in line to adopt an angel because it was accessible, it's on their way in between classes, they have a few minutes, it's right there, and they want to make a difference.
Texas A&M, home of the Aggies, an outstanding student body, a conservative student body, a dedicated student body, and they have been a big service to the Salvation Army. They provide Christmas for 800 to 1,000 children that most probably would not have a Christmas.
I think Angel Tree is a huge thing at A&M, partly because one of our core values is selfless service, and that's a way we can incorporate selfless service all across the university. As well, it's an easy way to be a part of something bigger than yourself and just show your gratitude towards the Bryan College Station area, which we all live in.
It's a really good way to give back to the community that's given so much to us.
It makes me feel like I'm making a difference on campus. I love knowing that having all these gifts going to these kids are going to bring them smiles to their faces, which is going to give me a smile to my face too.
Something that is as simple as a few hours a week of my time can make an impact in the entire community around me, and that has a ripple effect to other communities around us. And so if you're interested in starting it, it's a commitment, but it's so doable, and it's something that is so rewarding. There's nothing else like it.
I cannot think of an organization that walks the walk better than the Salvation Army. They're the type of people we should all aspire to follow.
The university allows for student organizations to be developed on campus, and that was something my board and I were talking about, is that we need to have a permanent presence on campus. Is that in order to start a student organization on a public university, it has to be student-led.
I've been a part of the Salvation Army for all of my life, and to bring a little piece of that into campus is a wonderful opportunity for the students to engage more into this wonderful organization. I invest my time in this organization because it's worth it. I do believe this organization can and will do a lot of good for not only the university, but for the community in general.
A great Aggie and a great supporter of the Salvation Army, Joe Ramirez. Were we in a banquet hall together, then Joe would be here with us to deliver his message. It was a little bit different because generally the general couldn't be with us. He had some core responsibilities that caused him to not be able to be at our Doing the Most Good banquet. But I will say that he's been on the board of the Salvation Army for more than 5 years, and he's been a great supporter. My one Joe Ramirez story that I can tell you having to do with the Salvation Army, the first year that A&M was in the Southeastern Conference, he put together a package that included tickets to the football game. It was Texas A&M and Alabama, and that was really neat because that was a tough ticket to get. Well, it went pretty well, as a matter of fact, and we just kind of made the decision to go ahead and sell another package with another 2 Alabama tickets in it, and we didn't run it by the general, but it worked out okay because we got it, and the general was more than happy to help out. And this year, if you look and see among the items that are in the auction, there is once again an A&M football package. And again, it's General Joe Ramirez who's done that for us. That's the kind of guy that he is, and I'm glad that he's part of our community, and I'm glad that he's our speaker today. I wish that I were the one to introduce him today, but there's somebody else who'd like to have that privilege.
Hey, greetings everyone. I'm Lieutenant Colonel retired and also former member of the United States House of Representatives, Alan West. It is an incredible honor and a pleasure for me to have the ability to introduce a mentor and a friend, Brigadier General Joe Ramirez. I first met Brigadier General Ramirez as a young Army captain at Fort Riley when I reported in to the 1st Infantry Division Artillery. He was the Assistant Division Artillery Operations Officer. He was a senior captain about to be promoted to major. And let me tell you something, he was a rough guy. We all knew the incredible reputation that if you did not do what was right in front of him, he was going to drop you for push-ups. And as you can still see, he can do a lot of push-ups today. But the thing was that underneath that really tough and hard shell was a kind and gentle man. A kind and gentle person that would take a young Army officer such as myself, new to the 1st Infantry Division Artillery, and groom me and help me become a battery commander before some of my other peers. I also had the opportunity to serve with Brigadier General Ramirez later on when he was the division artillery commander for the 1st Cavalry Division at Fort Hood, Texas, the 1st team. And I can tell you that there is no one that is a more impeccable character, a person with exemplifies all of the things that you would think a servant to this great nation would be. And that is why, without a doubt, he was chosen to be the Commandant of the Corps of Cadets at Texas A&M University, his alma mater. Because when you think about the motto of the Salvation Army, doing the most good, well, that's Brigadier General Joe Ramirez. He has been doing the most good his entire life, from the time that he walked on that campus as a cadet there at Texas A&M University, through the countless years that he served this great nation. His service, his sacrifice, his commitment in combat zones and in field training exercises out there, making sure that every single day you could lay your head down at night and know that you would be sleeping peacefully because someone like Joe Ramirez was standing on freedom's frontier, protecting your liberties, your rights, and your freedoms as he took that oath to support and defend the Constitution. So today you have him, your hometown hero, right there to speak for your Doing the Most Good luncheon. Something that I had the incredible opportunity to do just a few years ago. And guess what? It was my dear friend and my mentor that introduced me on that incredible day. So I just want to say to Brigadier General Joe Ramirez, it's an honor to be able to introduce you and present you to these people here in your hometown of Bryan College Station. And I just got one other message to you, sir. Gig 'em Aggies. Thank you.
Howdy. I am honored to be here with you today as your guest speaker in the Doing the Most Good luncheon. First, I'd like to thank my good friend, Alan West, for that kind introduction. As he mentioned, we go back a long way. He's a very good friend, and I greatly admire and respect him for all that he's done for our nation, both in uniform and as a member of Congress, and the things he continues to do today for our country and its citizens. So, Alan, thank you very much for that very, very kind introduction, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. As I mentioned, I am honored to be here with you today and to be your guest speaker. I am a proud member of the Board of Directors of the Salvation Army, and I have seen firsthand the impact that the Salvation Army has on the citizens of the Brazos Valley in a very, very positive way. And I'm here today to hopefully reinforce that message that says they are God's army and they are doing the Lord's work every single day, and they need our help. They need our help in terms of resources to be able to continue to do the good they do across the Brazos Valley every single day. So that'll be the foundation of my message today. Now, I'm a soldier. I've been a soldier for over 31 years, and this quote from Psalm 144 is one that I have used many times. It's one that many soldiers use, especially when they find themselves in harm's way. Praise be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. It's a psalm that many of us have used over the years, again, primarily when we find ourselves facing very difficult situations. Well, the Salvation Army is also training for war. They are God's army, and they are training today to fight the fight every single day against poverty, against hunger, against homelessness, against despair, against emotional and spiritual distress. The Salvation Army is the army on the ground for the Lord doing those tough tasks every single day. And they need our help in order to be prepared for war and to fight those battles every single day. They need the resources available to fight that fight. Just as soldiers need their weapons and their uniforms and their food and their fuel, so the Salvation Army needs resources to be able to fight this fight against hunger and hopelessness and despair every single day. And that'll be part of this message throughout my talk. I will fight. The famous words spoken by William Booth, a British Methodist minister who was the founder of the Salvation Army and was its first general from 1878 till 1912. William Booth fully understood from what he saw in London the despair that was out there and how he could help through his service with this organization that he founded called the Salvation Army. Now, William Booth died in 1912. 3 months prior to his death, he spoke in London in front of 7,000 Salvationists, and he gave this speech called, "I Will Fight." While women weep as they do now, I will fight. While little children go hungry as they do now, I will fight. While men go to prison in and out as they do now, I will fight. While there is a drunkard left, while there is a poor lost girl upon the streets, while there remains one dark soul without the light of God, I'll fight to the very end. And so, that message is the foundation for the mission of the Salvation Army to this day. And our Salvation Army right here in the Brazos Valley fights that fight every single day. They're out there on the front lines doing the Lord's work, fighting that fight every single day to end all those ills that William Booth envisioned years ago, well over a century ago in London. How are we going to help the Salvation Army fight that fight every single day? Some great examples of how the Salvation Army helps every single day across the globe with clothing, with shelter, with food, with a helping hand for those that just need a kind word or a kind hand. The Salvation Army is there for those that need it the most, around the world and especially here in the Brazos Valley. Even to this day, with the COVID-19 pandemic causing a crisis across the world, the Salvation Army has stepped up and is doing their part here in the Brazos Valley to help those that have been affected the most by this. Just so you've got an idea of the work the Salvation Army has done to date, given the pandemic that we're currently facing. Over 1,145 requests for help have been serviced by the Salvation Army since the COVID-19 pandemic started. Over $175,000 have been requested by Brazos Valley residents from the Salvation Army since the pandemic started. Over 37,500 pounds of food have been provided to Brazos Valley residents since the pandemic started. Over 1,935 families have been helped by the Salvation Army since this pandemic started. These numbers go through April only. We know that there is more to come. We know that the crisis still exists and that there is still a need among the residents of the Brazos Valley. There is still a need out there, and the Salvation Army needs resources in order to continue to have the impact that it has had to date. The Doing the Most Good Luncheon is the biggest fundraiser for the Salvation Army every year. And despite the fact that we're doing it virtually this year, we still need your help and your support. You have opportunities to donate or to participate in the auction beneath this video, and I ask you to continue to support the great work that the Salvation Army continues to do to this day and will continue to do into the future, even well beyond the COVID-19 pandemic. Another one of my favorite quotes out of the Bible, one that I've used many, many times, one that I've heard used many times. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" And I said, "Here am I, send me." Isaiah 6:8. Again, one of my favorite quotes because it captures the essence of what service is all about. Whether we're talking military service or the service that the Salvation Army does every day for those people that need it the most all around the world. Who will go for us? Whom shall I send? It's up to us to stand up and say, "Here am I, send me." And here are some pictures of those who are currently standing up and answering the call today all across our nation. Firefighters, law enforcement, healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, and just people off the streets that are trying to help in providing food or a helping hand in any way they can to help their fellow citizens. Something the Salvation Army does every single day of the year. No matter whether we're talking COVID-19 pandemic or whether we're talking natural disasters or whether we're talking people that just need help because they've fallen on hard times. Who will go for us? Whom shall I send? It's up to us to stand up and say, "Here am I, send me." I'm going to end with this slide that I've used in many of my presentations when I talk about leadership and the fact that during times of crisis, especially, leaders step up and answer the call. That's what service is all about. Now, this is a picture of a tombstone. And on a tombstone, you always notice two things on it, the name and the dates. And there are always two dates on a tombstone. The first date is the date of birth, and the second date is the date of death. And usually when you look at the tombstone, that's it. You look at the name and the dates and you move on. Most people that look at a tombstone always overlook one little thing on that tombstone, and that's that line between the two dates that we call the dash. And why is that dash important? That dash represents every day, every week, every month, and every year of your life between that first date and that second date. That dash is your life. So I'm going to ask you today, as a final message, how are you going to live your dash? What are you going to do with your dash? How are you going to have an impact with your dash? One of these days when they put one of these over you, what are people going to say about your dash? Today, we're asking you to have a huge impact with your dash by donating to the Salvation Army to help them impact the dashes of literally thousands across the Brazos Valley. This is your time to stand up and have your dash count for the dashes of others in a huge way. As I mentioned before, you can donate online underneath this presentation, or you can actively participate in the auction that is currently ongoing to raise money for the Salvation Army to help them affect the dashes of others who need it the most across the Brazos Valley in a very positive way. Not just today, not just tomorrow, but well into the future. How are you going to live your dash? And what kind of impact will you have your dash, both today and long into the future? We hope that you'll take your opportunity to impact the dashes of others today in a very positive way by donating to the Salvation Army. I thank you again for allowing me to be a part of this Doing the Most Good Luncheon and for allowing me to talk to you a little bit about the good that the Salvation Army does every single day. And I thank you for taking this time to be a part of this Doing the Most Good Luncheon and for your donations to help the Salvation Army do the most good for the citizens of the Brazos Valley every single day. Thank you for all that you do every single day. God bless all of you. God bless the Salvation Army. God bless the great state of Texas. And God bless America. Thank you very much.
2019 is what I would call a good productive year here at the Salvation Army in Brazos County. Reflecting back and looking and seeing all the services and the work that was done this last year, it would put a smile on your face knowing the impact and the difference that was made. You know, we went through several different phases, through several different types of work that was done at the Salvation Army. We started the year off with the government shutdown and saw lots of federal employees go without a paycheck, and they came to the Salvation Army for help for food, rent, and utility. Then we saw a tornado back in the spring when it came through Franklin, and within the hour after touchdown, the Salvation Army's mobile kitchen and team was deployed and serving meals, 3 meals a day for days after the storm came and went. And then of course we saw summer. Summer was a very, very positive time of the year. We were able to send lots of kids to summer camp, fully scholarship because of local donors in town. You know, in the fall, we saw students coming back to campus and to class, and we saw a lot of engagement, student engagement through our work, learning about what it is we do, how can they help. And so we spent a lot of time with students and where they fit, how they can help right now as they're students at Texas A&M. And then Christmas. Christmas is a very, very rewarding time of the year. And we saw, again, a record number of children who were placed on our angel tree. And I'm very happy to report that 100% of our children were adopted by local families, businesses, and even Texas A&M stepped in and adopted almost 1,000 children. And so when you look at the year that way, you see that this community cares. This community really wants to see the need, identify the need, and then how can we find the solution? How can we help? And then our local community came around us and supported us, and we were able to help a record number of families and individuals this last year. In 2019, we saw 78,935 volunteer hours accomplished through our work. 370,000 pounds of food that were given to 13,798 hungry individuals. 7,851 clothing items were distributed to 317 families. 2,168 children, which form 871 families, were placed on our Christmas angel tree list and received toys. 60 families with rent assistance, 149 families with utility assistance, 159 individuals received hygiene kits, 96 fans and heaters were distributed, 94 individuals were given additional services such as ID and birth certificate replacement. We were also able to help with bus passes and much more. 277 youth were given all new clothes and school supplies at the beginning of the school year. 69 youth were given a fully scholarshiped week at summer camp at Camp Hollitzel. 2,200 individuals were assisted through our local emergency disaster services. 23 families assisted due to the 2019 government shutdown. And overall, we assisted 20,123 individuals who came to the Salvation Army for help in 2019. I just want to say a special thank you for each of those families and individuals who came to the Salvation Army looking for some form of help. That on their worst day, the day that perhaps they saw no hope, that they were able to walk into the Salvation Army and receive that hope because of your support, because our community cares. And for me, I just want to say thank you. That together, that we can keep our promise of doing the most good and continue serving families and individuals in need here in Brazos County for years to come. Howdy and good afternoon. I am Captain Paul Ryerson, the commanding officer of the Salvation Army here in Bryan College Station. It's my privilege to speak to each of you today about the ongoing work that's taking place here at the Salvation Army. Now, I want to start off by saying something first, that the mission is simple. It's to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to meet human needs in His name without discrimination. You know, every year, I look forward to being able to gather with each and every single one of you at the annual Doing the Most Good Luncheon. In fact, it's one of the highlights of my year. It's a time where we, the Salvation Army, can reconnect with so many of our community supporters and share in the work that has been accomplished since the last time we've been able to gather. You know, that word gather has really taken on a new meaning probably for all of us, hasn't it? As cities across America were shutting down and beginning the sheltering in place, we were preparing for the storm that was about to come. The days and weeks to follow can only be described or defined by a word that we have by now heard countless times: unprecedented. As 2019 came to a close, we were able to look back and see the impact the Salvation Army had on our local community last year. Whether it was the 20,000 individuals who received help from the Salvation Army in 2019, or the 79,000 volunteer hours it took to accomplish such a great mission, I was able to look back and see that your Salvation Army is making an impact to local lives right here. This is what the Army looks like in a normal year. 2020 is not going to be a normal year. This current pandemic has had us look at the services we are providing and adapting to the new needs that are arising. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline reported last month that their calls have increased by 300% since the start of the pandemic. We couldn't sit on the sidelines. Within days, the Salvation Army opened an emotional and spiritual care hotline. Since the opening of this hotline, Salvation Army personnel have provided listening ears to hundreds of families who now find themselves in crisis. During a time when PPEs were in shortage to hospitals, the Salvation Army partnered with the Texas Division of Emergency Management to distribute PPEs to hospitals across the state, including Bryan College Station, by offering our emergency disaster vehicles as transport for the materials. And right here locally, the need that has been brought on by COVID-19 has increased the demand of our services by almost triple for just the month of April. The request for rent, utility, and food assistance has gone through the roof. Our entire team has been only focusing on the growing request for these services. Every week, we are distributing food to families in great need. Right now, about 30% of those coming to get food are families who have never received food from the Salvation Army in the past. These are families who are living paycheck to paycheck and found themselves in real trouble when April came and there was still no job. We are currently distributing food as a drive-through format so that families do not need to leave their vehicles. Our priority is to meet the growing need, but to do so by keeping everyone safe. The request for rent and utility assistance came in at an alarming rate. Just like food, we are seeing first-time families seeking assistance from us. Unlike food, rent and utility are generally a higher fixed cost. This means that this is a much more expensive program, and right now, the program in the highest demand. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we have been able to assist almost triple the number of families in a given month. But the fact remains that the need is even greater. There are still families calling today, needing help during this difficult time. The Salvation Army is in a position to help. We are already fighting this battle before this pandemic, and now that the battle has intensified, I am coming to you for support. Here is what I could commit to you, my community. The Salvation Army was here before this pandemic, and we will be here after it. Not once has the Salvation Army closed our doors during this difficult time. We will find ways to be safe and continue to meet the growing needs. We are already currently serving to meet those needs as I speak. The services that we offer are indeed the basic needs of life, shelter, and food. And when you give to the Salvation Army, you can rest assured that your money stays local, helping families here in Bryan College Station. Together, we can and we will get through this, but we need your help. I want to say thank you for joining us today and showing an interest in the work of the Salvation Army. On behalf of those families, mothers, fathers, and children who are struggling on a day in and day out basis, I want to say thank you. It will take an army to meet the growing need, and I know that this community is filled with soldiers ready to take to the battleground, ready to come alongside the Salvation Army to help us continue to do the most good. I want to say thank you. God bless you. May you and your family be safe during this time, and most importantly, I request and I covet your prayers for the work of the Salvation Army. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for joining us for this luncheon, and God bless.
It is the yearning and passionate desire of my soul that at this time, when the world is rent by hatreds, fearful of wars and revolutions, and cast down by depression, that the Salvation Army shall go forth again and again, holding up the compassionate Christ of the cross, whose alone we are, and that there shall be no hesitancy because of obstacles, but courageous and fearless. With our trust in Him, we shall hold Him up to the peoples of the world, of whom He shall draw all men unto Him.
My name is Larry Catlin, and I serve on the advisory board of your local Salvation Army. The past weeks have brought unprecedented challenges to our world and the Salvation Army as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The mission of the Salvation Army is to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, and they do this by meeting the physical and spiritual needs of their clients without discrimination. To accomplish this, the Army relies on donations from people just like you and me. And the major sources of revenue are the Red Kettles at Christmas and this annual banquet. You have already heard about the tremendous strain that the pandemic is placing on some of the social services provided by the Salvation Army, such as the food pantry, rent and utility assistance, and disaster relief. Today, I'm asking you to help the Army fight the battle against despair, loneliness, and poverty, and be the hands and feet of Jesus as they minister to so many in our community. Remember that every dollar you give stays right here at home. Again, let me say, every dollar you give helps someone in our local community. In the book of Isaiah, God reminds His people that the outward evidence of genuine righteousness is to feed the hungry, provide shelter for the wanderer, and to clothe the naked. By your presence today, you can ensure that the Salvation Army will continue to accomplish this mission during these extraordinary times. I would ask that you consider investing in this mission with the Army. You may do so principally by 3 ways. First and foremost, we covet your prayers. Secondly, when the time does become appropriate, we ask that you consider volunteering your efforts with the Salvation Army. Third, we ask that if you are able, that you consider investing financially in the battle that the Salvation Army is waging. You may do so by following the information at the end of this video that will allow you to make those financial contributions. Finally, we are pleased to announce today that the Bryan family has generously agreed to match our online auction proceeds up to $15,000. So any item that you buy today has double the impact. We thank you for your presence today. May God bless you and the work of the Salvation Army. Thank you.
Every year, the Salvation Army serves nearly 30 million people in need. That's one person every second. So by the time you've finished watching this, 30 more lives will have been changed for good. All thanks to your donations.
Thank you.
Give today.
Thanks, Larry. You know, we all think we know exactly what the scope of the Salvation Army is, but we've found in the last couple of months exactly how broad that scope can be. Things that we never thought would be happening here in the United States, and the Salvation Army stepped up, and they've been doing the most good, and we've seen it more than ever here in the last few months. Now, if you'll scroll down below the stream, you'll see different ways that you can give, and also where those dollars will go and how they will help people. And remember, all the dollars stay right here in the Bryan College Station area. So remember, the auction goes until Friday, and I appreciate you spending some time with us, and I'm glad that we could show you the things that the Salvation Army has done here in the last year. And gosh, it's the first of its kind, even though it was our 9th Doing the Most Good banquet. Thanks for being with us. Unfortunately, you're going to have to clean up after yourself, though.